Monday, May 23rd. We'll begin with introductions. Counselors on the first row, far left.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. Paul Ane, District 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mowry, District 25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Keith Potts, District 2, Washington Township.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. Councilor Kristen Jones, District 16.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor Allie Brown, District 5, Lawrence, Oak Landing, and Geist.
Good evening. David Ray, District 19 on the east side.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Zach Adamson, District 17, near northeast, near east, and near southeast side of downtown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor Keisha Jackson, District 14, representing Lawrence and Warren Townships on the far east side of Indianapolis.
Thank you, councilors. And my name is Maggie Lewis, District 10. The first item on our agenda is proposal number 165, nominates Joe Perrin to the Speedway Economic Development Commission. Is he present? And I apologize if I butchered your last name.
You got it right.
Oh, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving in this capacity.
Yes, good evening. Thank you all for having me here this evening. As the President said, my name is Joe Perrin. I'm a resident of Speedway, Indiana. I have lived in Indianapolis for most of the last decade. I came here from Columbus, Ohio in 2011 to attend Butler University and left for about a year after graduating and decided to come back in 2016 and have been around ever since. I have worked in mostly nonprofit PR and marketing, the Indianapolis City Market for 2 years, the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, and now for TechPoint, part of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. I was contacted by Councilwoman McCormick about the possibility of serving on this commission. Public transit, urbanism, economic development, small business advocacy has been something I've been very passionate about for a long time, and I see this as a really great way to get a little bit more involved in my community on the west side.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Are there questions, comments from councilors? Councilor Jackson.
Yes, Madam Chair. I move proposal number 165, 2022, to nominate Joe Perrin to the Speedway Economic Development Commission to the full council with due pass recommendation.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded, but we need to back up 2 seconds. Madam Clerk, do you want to read the statement? And then also I need to see if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the proposal. No worries. Madam Clerk.
As we move to the public comment portion of debate for this proposal, I would like to remind my colleagues and the public of a few ground rules. In order for everyone to have a fair chance to speak and be heard, it is important that we each observe the following ground rules. First, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Second, any public comments must reasonably relate to the agenda item under consideration. Third, speakers who stray from the item under consideration or become unduly repetitious, may be asked to move on to their next point or conclude their comments. Finally, attendees who cause disruptions that prevent the council from proceeding through today's agenda in a reasonably efficient manner will be removed. Please remember that some types of threatening speech or incitement to violence aren't protected by the First Amendment at all. We will deal with those issues if they come up, but I don't think they will. And now, do I have consent to adopt these rules for public comment on every proposal this committee opens to public comments?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I worked with Joe in one capacity or another for a number of years and have known him to be a true public servant in the highest definition of the word, so I'm sure he'll do a great job on this commission.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 165? Again, the motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 169, nominates Mark Young for the appointment of Economic Development Commission. Good evening. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving in this capacity.
My name is Mark Young. I'm a lifelong resident of Indianapolis. Attended Ball State University with a degree in biology and did my graduate work in urban planning. I've worked for the city. I've worked for the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. I've been a private business owner for the last 12 years, 10, 12 years. And I've also served on the BZA and also the city county or city market board for a year or so, some years ago. Interested, actually, Councilor Osley asked me if I was interested in doing it, and after a little research, I think I would add some perspective to it, and just interested in continue to serve the city however I can.
Thank you so much. Questions, comments from my colleagues? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 169? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move proposal 169, 2022, to nominate Mark Young for an appointment to the Economic Development Commission with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 200. Mr. Bridgman is unavailable. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President?
Yep.
I ask to propose proposal 200, 2022, to postpone Anthony Bridgman to the Metropolitan Development Board of Zoning Appeals to a next date determined.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. The motion has been properly moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. The motion carries. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 95, approves a statement of benefits for Gershman Partners, an applicant for tax abatement property located in an economic revitalization area.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alexis Souter. I'm a project manager with KSM Location Advisors, and with me this afternoon to present is Eric Gershman, who is a partner at Gershman Partners. Excited for the opportunity to talk with you just a little bit this afternoon about this exciting mixed-use office development project in Broad Ripple. We've been working with the Gershman team for quite some time on this exciting project. I'm going to turn it over to Eric. You're going to want to hear from him way more than me. Give you just kind of a brief overview of Gershman, who they are if you're not familiar with them, the project overview, community benefits, and then I can kind of come back up here and dig into the numbers of it. So with that, Eric.
Oh, Ryan, okay. You can go to the next one, Ryan. Hi, good evening. Hi, Eric Gershman, Principal, Gershman Partners, 350 Mass Ave, Indianapolis. So the Madera project before you this evening is a high-end boutique office building in the heart of Broad Ripple, just north of the canal. It's over a $20 million investment, 4-story building. The top 3 floors are Class A boutique office, and the first floor is actually covered podium parking, screened with decorative art, and also kind of a steel mesh at the street level. There'll also be 56 parking spaces. I'll get to the plan in a second, but there'll be 56 new parking spaces on the site, and then also 12 dedicated spots in the right-of-way on 65th and Ferguson. As part of the development, right now it's currently some small rental bungalows and a couple vacant retail centers that are, when this is done, the sidewalks will be connected over to the Monon, and all new landscaping up and down 65th and Ferguson. So. Next slide, Ryan. This one's a little bit hard to see. I'll go quick here, but the northern boundary, this is facing north. To orientate everybody, the east-west at the north side is 65th Street, which goes over to the Monon Trail. We've labeled the restaurants on the east side. That's where Just Pop In is, and the other users facing the Monon. So our building orientates north to south. The lobby's mid-block, and as I said, the first level is parking. That when we get to the next slide, I'll show you how that operates. Just to make this a little bit more confusing, north is now to the right. Ferguson is a one-way south. It's on the top of the slide, and 65th is going east-west. So the parking that's underneath that building footprint is completely covered by the building, and then the parking that's in the alley is also underneath the building. So everything that's in that building footprint is covered parking, and then a new 22-car parking lot to the south. The landscaping running down Ferguson is all new sidewalks and landscaping connecting to the other properties. And then working with Envision Broad Ripple and the BRVA, we've got parallel parking on 65th Street per the plan, and then upgraded sidewalks and landscaping to connect over to the Monon Trail. As part of the proposed tax abatement and the inclusivity plan, we've been working closely with BRVA so that the money comes back into Broad-Ripple. So we met with Jordan, the new president of BRVA, as well as some of the members on the land use committee. So our inclusivity plan will go to enhance the pedestrian walkway and help them connect the trail from Broad-Ripple Park, and then also make further enhancements along the avenue with street lighting and other pedestrian-friendly activations. As far as the timeline goes, we're still on schedule to try to start construction this August. It's about a year construction, and then a couple months after that for our tenants to move in. So we have fourth quarter on here as a start, but it'll happen between the third and fourth quarter and then be completed a year later. Community benefits, these are a few of the highlights that we've put into the presentation. Really the biggest thing here to note is in meeting with everyone in Broad-Ripple and working with the groups closely is really trying to get more daytime population to Broad-Ripple. Like I said, this is a 48,000 square foot building of all new Class A office that brings more people into the coffee shops and into lunch and into, you know, post-work happy hours and those kind of things. So that's really kind of the top of the list in my mind of the community benefits, but we tried to highlight a few others as highlights. And then to run through kind of a quick high-level analysis, I'll turn it back over to Alexis.
So all in, as you can see there on your slide, the investment in real property is going to be just shy of $17 million. Currently, the assessed value for these parcels that would be redeveloped, right, is coming in at about $817,000 or so. We've worked really closely with the city staff, with the assessor to really just best estimate what the AV of the project is going to be upon completion. And so once everything is stabilized, that AV is going to increase from that 817 figure to, again, estimated just about 6.2 million. Based on, you know, the specs of the project, you know, the jobs, the wages that'll be committed to as a part of this project, even with the proposed abatement in place, the project is going to generate close to $780,000 in real property taxes over the life of the abatement. From there, once the abatement burns off, the estimated annual real property taxes generated will be pretty close to $205,000 a year. So with that said, I know we kind of went through the slides rather quickly, but if there are any questions that you have, we're here to answer them. We just want to thank you for your time and consideration as we review this project.
Thank you for your presentation. Councilor Potts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Good to see you. I know the first conversation that we had about this project was before COVID even happened, so this project has been a long time coming. Grateful for the outreach that you all have done to the community, your commitment to the community. I'm very proud to support this proposal, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Additional questions? Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you folks already have tenants in line for these open offices?
So the project is being developed as a speculative development. I think you will see on one slide in there, you know, we've got some really good positive feedback and conversations going with potential occupants. At the end of the day, I mean, truly, this is going to attract very highly paid, highly skilled professional service type positions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the only reason I ask is, you know, I think this is a great proposal. The only reason I ask, though, is because of you said you guarantee at least 50 new high-paying jobs to the community, paying at least $20 per hour. And without knowing for sure who those tenants were going to be, you know, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, no, that becomes difficult, right, in this spec world. But again, I think just with some of the pre-leasing activity being so robust, we've got our hands around, you know, again, just the types of tenants and jobs that a development like this would attract.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say one thing that I look at in these proposals is the interaction with the community and how businesses and partners are going to really try to push the community forward. Admittedly, this is Councilor Potts' district, but I just wanted to give a compliment with the pledge to donate the estimated savings to the Broad Ripple Village Association. I think that's a very, very clear sign that you are looking to really come into this community and work to make sure that you move it in the right direction. So I just think that's a very positive thing, and I look forward to supporting it.
Thank you.
Additional comments? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 95? Sorry, I didn't get the numbers right. 95? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Potts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move proposal 95, 2022 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is proposal number 167. I believe we're going to present proposal 167 and 168 together. 167 approves a declaratory resolution and economic development plan and declares an area to be designated as a new TIF allocation area known as the Shorty's Real Street Allocation Area.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Chris Engel. I'm an attorney with Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister here in Indianapolis. I represent Buckingham Companies and their project entity, BC Real Street Partners, LLC. Joining me this evening from Buckingham are Andy Kleinman, the general counsel, and Brett Davis, project manager. We are here before you this evening for authorization for the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue bonds in the maximum aggregate amount not to exceed $8 million. The bond proceeds will be used to fund certain public improvements that are needed in connection with Buckingham's Shorty Railroad development. The development consists of single-family homes, townhomes, and an apartment complex. But as I said, the bond proceeds will be used for the public improvement portions of the project. Those public improvements consist of a realignment of Real Road and related infrastructure, a 2,500 lineal foot multi-use trail which will connect to the Monon Trail at 96th Street, and then a 4.35 acre park which will be maintained either by Buckingham or an HOA that's created in connection with the overall development. The Buckingham team will discuss the public improvements in the overall development in more detail this evening, but I just wanted to give a little update on where we stand in the approval process. Since last fall, we've had extensive conversations with DMD and DPW on the project, and in specific, the public improvements in coordination of same. We had our MDC declaratory resolution passed in early March. We've gone in front of OMWBD and had very productive conversations in crafting our inclusion plan, which was approved on March 29th, and then we received EDC approval on April 6th. So with that background and high-level information, I'll turn it over to Andy Kleinman.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Andy Kleinman. I'm the general counsel at the Buckingham Companies. Been with Buckingham, associated with Buckingham since going back to 2008, which is a little hard to even fathom at this point, but time flies when you're having fun. I really appreciate the opportunity tonight. We're obviously very excited about this project. It's a project in Councilor Potts' district, the very north end of our county. And it's the redevelopment of the Shorty's golf course, which is a par 3 golf course and driving range, but it's also my mom's country club. as she's a pretty expert par 3 golfer. So I've got a lot of explaining to do if this project really goes forward when I meet with her. But all kidding aside, it's a really terrific redevelopment opportunity. And just a little bit about the Buckingham Companies for those of you who don't know much about us. A company founded back in 1984. Our corporate office and headquarters is at 9th and Meridian, 941 North Meridian here, just north of downtown. We are primarily a multifamily residential developer, owner, property manager. We also do some significant mixed-use projects. Primarily our footprint is in the Midwest, Indianapolis, Ohio, Indiana, and Ohio, Illinois. We own projects in Kentucky and Tennessee, and also just started a development project in North Carolina and just closed on a development project in Colorado. So expanding local business corporate office here in Indianapolis. And at the chair's discretion, I turn it over to my colleague, Brett Davis, who could walk you through some of the details of the public improvements and the redevelopment itself.
Good evening. Thank you for your guys' time tonight. Just want to walk through some brief details here. Ryan, do you mind if we go back one slide? All right, so the Shorty's golf course site, which Andy was describing, is a 23-acre site with 465 bordering to the north in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood to the south and west, and Westfield Boulevard to the east. You can see that the real street today comes into the site at the north end, ties into 96th Street. We have a pretty sharp turn that comes down Westfield Boulevard, and then a kind of a hairpin turn that intersects at Westfield Boulevard. There's no pedestrian access on either side of the street, so it's just a street. Vegetation has grown up pretty close to the edge of the street. And then when the vehicles kind of stop here at Westfield Boulevard, because of the hairpin turn, it kind of creates an unsafe connection point. It causes vehicles to stack who are looking to go north. So when we started to pursue this site, we had lots of conversation with DPW and DMD. And if we flip forward one slide here, what we proposed was, instead of having that existing real street kind of run on that north end of the site there, we proposed to bring it in and hit Westfield Boulevard at a 90-degree intersection and have about 250 to 300 feet of straight road at that intersection, which allows for the proper vehicular stacking going northbound and the proper vehicular stacking going southbound at Westfield Boulevard. But then what it also does is it allows us to kind of look at this site in kind of two different sites here. So it pulls the road right through the middle, and the vehicular portion of this road would be 2 lanes, one in either direction, and a turn lane at the main entrance. But in addition to this, it's a complete street. So we would have sidewalks, and then we'd have a multi-use path that would start at Westfield Boulevard, work its way all the way around the slow curve all the way up to the north and tie in at the Monon, running adjacent to 96th Street. So as the site kind of as the road bisects the site, what it allows us to do is kind of take the multifamily and push it up closer to the interstate, away from the existing neighbors. But then as we kind of come down, as we start to get a little bit closer to the adjacent neighbors, we step down to townhomes, and those townhomes would then be a rear load townhome fronting the realigned real street. So kind of activating the streetscape and the pedestrian environment. And then as you step across to the south side, we have a single-family district. Again, those homes would be a rear load home product, which would be fronting real street on the west side there. And then the second row would be activating the community green space. So the community green space in this sets up as a buffer to the adjacent neighborhood. So the community green space would be maintained by the neighborhood HOA, but be open and available to the public. We go to the next slide. So the community green space we envision with a small playground. We're starting to kind of get into the details of what that playground can be. We will pull a multi-use path in through there. We'd have some small stormwater retention, and then just kind of dedicated open space, places for people to gather. We envision some shelters for people to hang out and gather under, seating areas, a way to really kind of activate this space, which will have homes fronting on it. If we go to the next slide. So this is kind of the look and feel of these rear load homes that'll be activated, the park and the streetscape. Garages will be tucked in on the backside, which will be activated through the alley, or accessed through the alley. These homes would be 1,800 to 2,300 square feet, would have attached two-car garages, and we would also then, within those, they would have driveways, again, on the alley side. If we go forward one more slide, the townhomes, which now we're stepping across the public improvements on Real Street, we would have a 3-story townhome product. The garages would be tucked behind and hidden from Real Street. Again, 1,800 to 2,000 square feet with attached two-car garage, and then a driveway that could accommodate another 2 cars as well. Then as we move to the far north side, the multifamily district. The multifamily district has 319 units of multifamily 3-story product. We intend, and at this location here, we would have our amenity and leasing space. We'd have a pool, an office space here for tenants to use. Those who are doing remote work would have a dedicated space to kind of come into the leasing and amenity center. And then multi-use trails and paths would be kind of running along the north and east sides of the project. Go one more slide. So the realigned Real Street, which is what we're here today to really kind of discuss, we're proposing a 62-foot right-of-way, again, a travel lane in either direction, a small vegetated buffer between, on the east side, a 5-foot sidewalk, and then on the west side, a 10-foot multi-use path, which would then connect all the way over to the Monon. So with the public improvements, we are proposing to realign Real Street and kind of take care of a long issue that the city has had with the Real Street connection at Westfield Boulevard, looking to activate that with a safe pedestrian walking environment, 4.35 acre park, and a half mile multi-use trail. I'll at this point kind of open it up to any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Councilor Potts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here tonight. This is a very exciting project in District 2, and I will just say, just to sort of put a pin on it for my fellow committee members, again, the funds that we're talking about here tonight are for the purpose of the infrastructure. It's not for the building of any of the homes, any of the apartments, any of the townhomes. And as this project was being considered back with the MDC and with neighborhoods, I will say the biggest single piece of feedback that I heard from our neighbors was about the safety of that curve there on Real Street. And this is a very, very thoughtful and creative way of addressing that concern, and I think it's just incredible that they're going even outside of the parcel to connect the entire community to the Monon. That's something that we really lack up on the far north side, is sidewalk infrastructure, and so it's going to be a real asset to the community, and I look forward to supporting this proposal, and I hope my colleagues do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Potts. Additional comments, questions from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 167, 168? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Potts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we send proposals number 167, 2022, and proposal number 168, 2022 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much. The last item on our agenda is proposal number 201, amends Chapter 115, Article 3 of the Code regarding the Central Indiana Redevelopment Authority. Madam Deputy Mayor, are you presenting? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, councilors. Proposal 201, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, is it okay to go ahead?
Please do.
Proposal 201 establishes a new Central Indiana Regional Development Authority. An RDA is tasked with providing a governmental entity to oversee development for a region. It is usually outside of traditional territories, individual cities, individual counties, individual towns and municipalities, and instead allows all of those entities to come together and help to govern, help to make policy decisions, and help to ask for money when appropriate from state and federal entities as one organized region. Currently, there are a handful of RDAs across Indiana. Some of the ones that you may be most familiar with include the Southern Indiana RDA, the South Bend Elkhart RDA, the Northeast Indiana RDA, and then the Northwest Indiana RDA. They range anywhere from the 60s to more modern times and have a variety of governance structures and utilities. Underneath each of those, you'll see some examples of recent state funds that they have competed for as a region. It is generally viewed that by coming together as a region and competing for those dollars, it makes them more competitive and helps to allow those communities to kind of prioritize developments and investment as one cohesive entity. Currently, you may be thinking to yourself, I thought Central Indiana already has an RDA. You would be correct. That was established in 2015 for the Regional Cities Initiative grant program. It really was intended to focus on transit. It is the reason that the membership includes Indianapolis, Westfield, Carmel, and Greenwood, as well as our excluded cities here in Marion County, was because the thought was that as we were talking about expanded transit and transit opportunities, as well as competing for trails and greenways as a region, that this would help us to be more competitive. With the adoption by Indigo of the Marion County Transit Plan, I think the general consensus has been that in some ways this current membership is a little exclusionary of what is really the Central Indiana MSA. In addition, I think it's fair to say that this RDA had been formed utilizing previous legislation, and with the adoption of new legislation, being able to reform and reconstitute, really thinking about the entirety of Central Indiana, will help us to be more competitive for not just state opportunities, but federal ones as well. Tonight's proposal in front of you will dissolve the outdated RDA. It will create a new RDA that is aligned with updated state law. It will begin with the White River Ready applicants. So that is Marion County, that is Hamilton County, and that is Anderson. Those will be the municipalities that will first begin this adoption process. We're kind of middle of the pack. I believe Zionsville is working through their council process here in the next couple of weeks. I believe Fishers and Noblesville already have, and you'll see other municipalities within this White River region continue to do that. Then the way that this is built, unlike the previous RDA, is that it allows for the Central Indiana region to continue to come together in additional phases. Mayor Hogsett sat down with the excluded cities last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, and talked to them about the opportunity to join. I know that several of them are engaged with Ryan and others in our office to have conversations about what that looks like. And I think what you'll continue to see is the entirety of the MSA beginning to come together, beginning to participate in these conversations. Mayor Hogsett, Mayor Fadness, Mayor Brainerd, Mayor Jensen have been sort of engaged in this on the front side because of the White River Ready process, but I think the truth is the roots for this really began as part of CICEO, and the regular meetings that Central Indiana mayors participate in to come together and talk about issues facing the region. And so as a result, the continued phasing of that, I think, will represent that. In addition, there is no financial commitment or tax increase at this time. It is true, this piece of legislation truly is focused on ensuring that we can be as competitive as possible for state and federal grants. With that, Chairwoman, I'm happy to take any questions from the council.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Leader Lewis. Taylor, just for clarification, so are the excludeds involved yet, or are they, in, like us, in process?
I would describe them as maybe a little bit earlier in the process. They, like I said, Mayor Hogsett sat down with Lawrence leadership, with Speedway leadership, and with Beech Grove leadership. Currently, Southport is too small to participate, not necessarily in sort of as a engaged member, but as a voting member. They would not necessarily hit the threshold for being a voting member of the RDA. And so sat down with all of them. We've provided initial feedback in terms of what our proposal in front of you all looks like, what the timeline has looked like with other communities, and what these conversations have been. And while it has not yet been introduced to the council, my guess would be that you will see them begin to have those conversations with their legislative body as well.
And just a quick follow-up on that, because I see it in the old map. For those who are not, those areas that are included, aren't excluded cities or towns, so Warren Park or Meridian Hills, do they automatically come in with Indianapolis, or will they? Okay, awesome.
I'm going to look at Ryan, who probably is going to be better with numbers than I am on any given day, but there is a population threshold that was decided within CICEO to ensure that this didn't become so unruly that it kind of was unmanageable. Cities and towns above
7,500.
See? I would have bet money that he had the answer to that. So cities and towns above that, as well as counties, can choose to opt into this. They will go through the exact same legislative process that we're going through and be able to participate in the Central Indiana RDA.
So those people who sit in those little ones, so like Warren Park, I don't think hits that threshold. They would just automatically be included as part of Indianapolis.
That's
or
right.
Marion County.
That's right.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things that got me excited about this is when you started mentioning trails and greenways. Does that mean we're going to start seeing some trails and greenways south of Brookville?
I think there's absolutely projects in the works for the southern townships. I don't know that that's necessarily a part of this conversation tonight, but I do think, like I said, our intention is, and I'm speaking for the totality of mayors in Central Indiana, that this really is a full Central Indiana region, which I think provides opportunities for partnership with the contiguous cities and counties all around Marion County. So whether that right now the focus has largely been north of us, in part because of all of the work that went into the White River Master Planning process and the ways in which that aligned with the READY grant. But I think in the long term, it is intended to be a full MSA footprint that allows for those partnerships moving forward.
I appreciate that. And then my last one here is, you said no financial commitment or tax increase at this time. Does that mean in the future you could be coming back for an additional appropriation potentially for this?
So I guess the answer to that is a little bit complicated. I would tell you that as we apply for local and federal, or for state and federal grants, it is entirely possible that those require a local match. That is something that we do as part of our next level trails. When we apply, we say we will put in this amount if the state matches us with this. I can't determine what that necessarily looks like in the long term as we pursue those grant opportunities.
Thank you.
Additional comments? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 201? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Leader. I ask that proposal number 201, 2022, amends Chapter 115, Article 3 of Code regarding the Central Indiana Redevelopment Authority and move to the council with a full pass recommendation, due pass recommendation, excuse me.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much for your presentation. Is there any other business before this committee?
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Thanks, Council.